Okay, so this year is the Shmitah year. Let me just introduce Joel. Joel, why don't you introduce yourself, please, everybody here?
I'm Joel.
Okay, welcome. Okay. Sorry?
No,
Yeah. Okay, so the Shmitah year, right, we all know about sabbatical years. Actually, I understand that I haven't been told yet, but the shul is considering giving me a full year off, a sabbatical year, full salary. I haven't heard about that yet, but I heard it's in the works. Who knows?
Former rabbi who asked for that.
Never came back. Okay.
It's always good to dream.
Okay. So the sabbatical year, the Shemitah year, of course, is a din in the Torah. It's often used as one of the, I don't want to say proofs, but one of the proofs, very strong indications on the divinity of the Torah. Because if we were all getting together here and deciding to write a Torah, now we're writing the Torah, but we are presenting it as God's Torah. It's not this little Beth Jacob Committee Torah. It's actually, we're going to pawn it off as being God's Torah. Right? So one of the last things that we would consider writing is, comes the seventh year, don't do any work. No planting, right? Make your fields hefker. What we eat on the eighth year, no problem. There'll be this bonanza, this bounty, and you'll have enough to eat for 3 years. The sixth year will provide enough for all 3 years, 6th, 7th, and part of the 8th until things get cooking again, right? Clearly, we're not going to. Well, if anyone here would suggest that, I think he'd get voted down pretty quickly, because there's no way that our religion would last past that first Shemitah cycle, right? So Shemitah in general is often used as one of the strong indications that only a divinely inspired Torah could make and thereby fulfill such a guarantee. Otherwise, we don't guarantee things that we know is far beyond our ability to realize, to bring about. Now, the Shemitah year in Israel applies to all of the produce of Israel, that it has the Kedushas Shvius. It's not that you're not allowed to eat it, but you're not allowed to do business with it. You can't act as an owner. And it becomes hefker, ownerless, and there's an allowance for all to enter the fields, and perhaps we'll have some other lunch and learns on how that actually takes place on a practical level in Israel today. There's another aspect of Shemitah, though, that I'd like to deal with, which is the Shmitat Ksafim, the cutting off of loans. And let's go.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yes.
That you are going to go to the bank for us tomorrow and tell them that this year they have to annul all our loans. That's what I thought about.
That's why you're here, Baz, huh?
Yeah.
You thought that the budget has just been balanced in one fell shear. Okay. So let's see from the Torah, from Devarim Tesvav, Deuteronomy, chapter 15. Miketz, and that's a word that's going to become important pretty soon. Miketz Sheva Shanim, at the end of the 7 years, Ta'aseh Shemitah. You shall institute, make a Shemitah. Shemitah is a cutting off. At the end of 7 years, you shall institute a remission. V'zeh devar ha-Shemitah. And this is the matter of this Shemitah. Shamot kol bal mashe yado asher yasheh b'reyehu. Every creditor will remit his authority, will remove the authority that he has over that which he lent to his friend. Lo yigos et reyehu. He cannot demand from his friend, ve'etechev, and from his brother. He cannot demand that loan. If the loan is due and Shemitah passes, then Shemitah will cancel that debt. What does the person owe afterwards? Absolutely zero. Ki kara Shemitah laHashem. For he has proclaimed a Shmitah remission for Hashem. Later on in that very same parak, Pasuk Zayin, Ki yevicha evyo me'achad achecha b'achad sherech b'artzecha sher shem lekecha notein lecha lo ta'metzet levavcha. There's a poor person, do not harden your heart. V'lo tikpotz et yadcha me'achicha evyo. Do not pull back your hand from your brother, the poor person. Ki patoch tedach et yadcha lo. Open your hand to him. V'avei tavitenu do. And give out to him. That which he is lacking. He shamer lecha. Be careful. Do not say in your heart. Now, pause for a moment. Someone comes to you, right? It's the 6th year, and they say, "I'd like to borrow money for 6 months," and you know that the 6 months will be up. Right before Shmitah. Actually, it's really the 7th year. It's the end of Shmitah. We'll soon learn. That cuts it off. But whatever, a person comes before Shmitah. So a normal response, an understandable response would be, listen, I'm willing to lend you the money, but I'm not willing to give you the money. Right? So what happens? The person walks away, right, without a loan. Because I'm afraid that it's going to turn into a gift. Right? And the Gemara discusses this. We'll soon see Hillel. The Gemara's expression is Shalotin ol delet bifnei lavin. I'm going to lock the door. Right? I'm too nice a guy to say no, but I'm going to turn off the lights and lock the door. Right? And it's not, no one's home. No one's home. Right? I'm going to lock the door in front of the borrowers. The Torah says, don't say in your heart, the Shmitah year is rolling around, and your eye will be bad, right? Will be stingy with your poor brother. And you're not going to give it to him. He'll call out to Hashem. There'll be a sin. Give it to him. And do not let it bother your little heart as you give it to him. Because for this God will bless you in all of your dealings and all of your undertakings. There'll always be poor people in the land. I'm commanding you to say, Patoach tiftach et yadcha. Open up your hand. La'achicha, to your brother, la'niyecha, to the poor, la'avyonecha, to the destitute, bi'artzecha. So, the way that I myself wrap my head around it very easily, right? Again, right? I'm going to lend. I'm willing to lend. I'm not willing to give away. Let's say you would get a phone call. Pick up the phone. Yes. Hi, this is Bill. Oh, nice. Bill who? Bill Gates. Oh. Nice to talk to you, Bill Gates. How can I help you? Well, Bill says, Rabbi, there's someone who's going to be knocking on your door, asking for a loan. And I'm urging you to help this person out. And I'm letting you know you're not going to lose by this endeavor. Once I ascertained that actually it really was Bill Gates who called me, right? It was Bill Gates and he knew he was calling me. It wasn't a wrong number. Soon after there's a knock on the door, a person asks for money. Do I have a problem giving him the money?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't.
Ask him to ask Bill Gates.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem giving him the money. I don't have a problem giving him the money. I know.
He's Jewish.
Huh?
The person knocking your door is Jewish.
Jewish person. Right? I know that I'm going to be covered. Let's take it a step further. I work for Bill Gates. All of my salary comes not just through Microsoft, but directly from the Bill Gates Foundation. Everything that I have everything that I have, everything that I own, everything that I foresee myself having in the future is coming directly from Bill Gates' directive at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And he calls me. And he says, someone's going to come knock on your door. He's going to ask you for a loan. I know about this Jewish practice. I know the sabbatical year is coming up. I know if he doesn't pay you back and then it's due, right? It's canceled. I'm telling you, make this loan. You will only see blessing. You will only see benefits. You will only see gain from doing this.
You only see windows.
You'll only see windows. Do I have a problem lending the money? I've got no problem whatsoever.
You're obligated to lend the money.
Yeah, I know I'm obligated, but the question is, right, I'm obligated, but do I happen to not be home when the guy comes? Do I send my daughter to say my father's busy, I'm sorry? Or do I go ahead and do it? I think in that, I'm sorry? I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. I know whatever I pay out, if I don't see it back,
You'll get it back another way.
right? That's what the pasuk is telling us.
Yeah.
Hashem is saying, I control the bracha. For this, for you doing this, Yivarechecha Hashem Elokecha, b'chol ma'asecha. God will give you a blessing in all of your dealings. And b'chol mishlach yadecha. Right? Your investments will do well. Right? You're not going to have, you can have investments that do well, and then all of a sudden you have this pipe that breaks, right? And then you've got this expense of tens of thousands, right? It's going to be good. You're going to gain from it. However, that's the Torah. However, we shouldn't feel that bad if we look at ourselves and say, yes, a call from Bill Gates, I wouldn't have a problem, especially working for Microsoft. But reading these psukim, unfortunately, I would have some second thoughts about it. So the Mishnah and the Gemara teaches us on side 2 of this page. It's a Mishnah in the tractate of Gittin. Why is this in the tractate of Gittin? Because the Mishnah there is going through lists of different takanot, different decrees that were made, mipnei tikun ha'olam, for the smooth running of the world. For example, if a man is, if a husband and wife are getting divorced, the get has to include every name that person is called by. Not just his official name, not just every name, every nickname has to be included, of his, of hers, needs to be included. Why is that? Otherwise a person will receive the get, he'll go get married, she'll go get married, right? And everyone, right, her name is Bertha, but everyone knows her as Bonnie. Right, so Bertha was divorced, but Bonnie, no one's seen a divorce document for Bonnie, and there's Bonnie marrying someone else, having children. She's a married, right? So therefore, there's a whole list of different takanot that were made, mipnei tikun ha'olam. In that list is Hillel, Hitkin, Pruzbul. Okay? So we're first dealing on the second page over here. We got the Hebrew over here. Those who want to follow me in the English over there, as you are most comfortable. Hillel established a Pruzbul. Tanan Hasam, we learned over there. That is what the Mishnah says, and as is normally the case, the Breita then has a much more fleshed out version of what happened, and we rely on that. The Gemara quotes that in order to get a fuller picture. Tanan Hasam learned over there, Pruzbul Eino Mishamet. When there is a Pruzbul, Eino Mishamet. the Shmitah year, the 7th year, will not cancel the loan. Pruzbul eino mishamed ze'echa min advarim shehitkin Hillel hazaken. This is one of the things that were established by the elder Hillel. Shera'a et ha'am. He saw a tremendous problem. He saw the nation shenimna'u milahalvot ze et ze, that they were refraining from lending one to another. The avru al ma shekatuv b'Torah, and they were going against that it says in the Torah, what we just read from Devarim. Hishamer lecha, be careful. Pen yeh davar in levavcha bli ya'al, that there should not be this errant thought in your heart, right? That you're going to say the Shemitah year is coming close, I'm not going to lend, but people were going against that. People were okay lending, not okay gifting, and in essence that's what was happening, or at least that's what they were afraid would be happening, and therefore they were being Noel Delet. They were locking the door in front of the borrowers.
So they weren't trusting.
They were not trusting in God. Amad v'hitkin Pruzbul. See, he stood up and he established a Pruzbul. V'zehu gufo shel Pruzbul. And the following, this is the essence of the Pruzbul. Mosrani lachem. I give over to you ploni uploni, so and so and so and so, to 3 people. Dayanim, judges. Shebamakom ploni, of this place, wherever it's taking place. Shekol chov sheyesh li eitzel ploni. Interesting. The Gemara's text is any obligation, any debt that I have by so-and-so, she'egavenu, that I will collect it, kol zman she'ertze, whenever I want. V'hadayanim chotmin lamata o ha'edin, and the judges or the witnesses will sign underneath, and with that, presto, I've solved the problem. Now, how can we go ahead and do this? The Torah says, don't collect. Hillel writes a Pruzbul, and guess what? Now you can go and collect. Now, there are different approaches to this Pruzbul. The Gemara is going to ask, Umi kamidi, is there anything demidaoraita mishamta shvi'it? According to the Torah, shvi'it has canceled it. V'hitkin Hillel lo mishamta, and along comes Hillel and says, no, lo mishamta, it will not. Now, so there are different, actually it's machloket Rashi and Tosfot in different places. Is Pruzbul a case of, I'll explain in a moment, Mosher shtarotav lebeitin, or is it something beyond that? There is a concept the Gemara Makkos talks about, which is Moser shtarotav lebeitin. I give my shtar over, my document, over to the Beit Din. The Torah prohibits an individual from collecting a loan. A Beit Din is not bound by this. The Beit Din can collect the loan afterwards. I would say the simplest understanding is what Hillel did was he institutionalized a loophole, meaning there is this existing din of Moser shtarotav lebeitin. I can give my shtar to Beit Din. I can literally give my shtar to Beit Din and say, Beit Din, you enforce this. That's something that I can do. That's an existing Torah din that was rarely done. Hillel institutionalized that. Hillel popularized that. He streamlined that. And said, well, you don't have to go to a formal Beit Din. A Beit Din could be 3 people. So gather together 3 people. And write a Pruzbul, which states, Mosrani lechem, I'm giving over to you, so-and-so the judges, that the chov, again, the Gemara said the debt that I have by so-and-so, our Pruzbul actually says, Shekol chov sheyeshli, any debt that I have, that I can collect. So what's happening? He is streamlining this process. Instead of going and waiting online at the Beit Din and trying to get some time over there in front of the judge, it's not so easy, right, Your Honor? Not always so easy, right? So he streamlined the process. I make the 3 of you my Beit Din. I give this over to you. You then appoint me to be the one to collect the loan, and bang. Zippity zip. Well set. Okay? So Hillel, according to that understanding, is not making anything new. He is taking an existing law, an existing arrangement, and he is streamlining it, and he's posting it online. Now it's very easy. You just download the document, call in 3 friends, bang, taken care of. Now, there are those that say, I think the Tosfot, because Rashi does in Makos. Yeah, Rashi says that is Moshe Shtarosov, Tosfot says it's something else. Right? That actually this was actually a takana, a rabbinic institution that he made. Okay, the Gemara asks, but if, according to the Torah, it gets canceled, how can Hillel make this either? How can he make, according to the second explanation, how can he make this rabbinic institution that goes against the Torah? A. Or, according to the way I explained it, the Torah's intent is clearly that I lend the money and I don't collect it. So he's again going against, if not going against the laws of the Torah, certainly going against the intent of the Torah by streamlining, by posting online this very easy system now of collecting my loans. So why is Hillel, how can Hillel, what gives Hillel the right, the justification to go ahead and do this? Steve?
Is there somewhere a discussion about the question I'm about to ask? Like what's really the basis for this? Is it social? Is it economic? Is it some kind
What's the basis for what?
For the loans being forgiven in the Shmitah year. So that
What's the reason for the Torah's canceling of the loans? Look, we can always try, we can never fathom, we can always try to give, I think I would understand, on a simple level, it's a time to start fresh. Right? Here in the States we have bankruptcy laws. Bankruptcy means if I'm going to keep paying, right? If whatever airlines is going to keep paying these pensions, right, or whichever city, especially in California, is going to keep paying these billions upon billions of pensions, then it will never be soluble. It will never be a functioning city. They can't possibly generate. So all of a sudden, there's the idea of bankruptcy. I'm bankrupt. Right? Take what I have, right? Divide it up, whatever cents to the dollar, to the different creditors that I have.
And restructure.
And now I can restructure. The auto industry, right? Let me restructure. And let me be able to move forward in a viable way, as opposed to forever being crushed under this debt that I can never never get out. So we have a similar sort of a concept in our society.
And the cycle is also 7 years, or at least it used to be.
I'm sorry?
The cycle is also 7 years, or at least it used to be.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because at least for credit reporting agencies, those sorts of declarations go off your credit report
After
after
7
7
years.
years.
Okay.
So there's a very interesting.
But I was-
So
I
it's
was saying, you know,
it's a chance. It's a chance to start. Yes, Your Honor.
I heard a rabbi say once that if you owe somebody money, and of course, if you can't pay it, you can't pay it, but you still owe it, and if the day comes in the future that you can pay it, you have to pay it. Did I misunderstand what I heard?
No, you didn't misunderstand. As long as he wrote a Pruzbul. As long as he wrote a Pruzbul,
But isn't it also a matter of
right? If he didn't write a Pruzbul, we're going to see there are different halachas. You know, to what degree Shmitah applies nowadays. That is 100% the case if he wrote a Pruzbul. Right? You owe the money. It doesn't just get right. Without a Pruzbul and Shmitah has come, then Shmitah will take care of it, and that person will be made whole. Heavenly be made whole. Joe.
I was going to ask you, it sounds like the Pruzbul, like philosophically or psychologically, you're admitting that you don't trust Hashem. Because if you trust Hashem,
Yes,
you wouldn't need it.
yes, and that's how we began. I agree. Right? Ideally, there's no need for a Pruzbul. Society reached the point where this pasuk, these psukim, these verses, did not give us the same sense of confidence that a call from Bill Gates, I imagine, would. We say, Al tiftachu nedivim, don't have faith in people. Ven adam, when a person, right, who has no true way of helping. Yeah, but that's, there is, this clearly, Hillel's need to establish this shows that there was a lacking in the general trust belief of the society. Yeah.
Can we go back to two fundamental things? So you're approached for a loan and you say, Hashem has blessed me and it's actually not just mine. So you give. At what level, if someone approaches you, or say you have 3 such approaches in the year, at what level do you say,
Okay, so in general,
I mean,
I hear what you're saying.
are you tapped out or do you need it for your
I
needs?
hear what you're saying. So in general, there is a concept the Gemara discussed. Well, there's the halachic concept of maaser, which is giving 1/10 of your earnings to charitable causes,
Right, but what if
and this would also include, right, lending money, establishing what's called a gamach, a free loan. You lend money. When it comes back, you lend it out again, right? And the Gemara says that you should not give more than a chomesh. You should not give more than 20%.
So 10 to 20.
Right? Otherwise, you yourself might end up, right, needing. Now, if there is a person who is a multi-billionaire, right, so then if he'll give 25 or 30%, the person's not going to be lacking. But for the general people, it's between 10 and 20%.
So if it's a question of, say you've designated some things for tzedakah and in the past you've followed through for those and someone comes to you for a loan and that's going to impact, do you do the loan or do you say, no, I already am giving this towards tzedakah?
If you're unable to, then you're unable to. You know, if that's what you need for your...
Or do you stop and say, I'm not going to do the tzedakah and you give the loan instead? How do you...
That's a choice.
Yeah, that's a choice you need to make.
It's
Yes.
a choice.
If the donor chose to fulfill his tzedakah requirement by giving all these loans, and he's fortunate that they all repay, did he really give tzedakah?
Yes, he has, because the idea is then that money is tzedakah money. Whereas what a person could do is they could take their tzedakah money and set up a loan, right? When that money comes back, that's not my money. That's tzedakah money, right? And now I'll either lend it out again to someone or give it to or give it to a tzedakah recipient. I can't lend it out, get it back, and then goes back into my account, and I'm all taken care of. That is tzedakah money. Okay, let's go. So the Gemara goes a little further. So again, the Gemara asks, can it be that according to the Torah, it gets cut off, and Hillel institutes that it will not get cut off? Either legally going against the Torah, or in intent going against the Torah. Amar Abaye says, B'shviyat bizman hazeh. This would only work in Shviyat in our days. The Rebbe, according to the opinion stated by Rebbe, the time that we learned in a Braita, Rebbe says, V'zeh davar hashmita shemot, which is the psukim that we had over there. This is the matter of Shemitah cut off. B'shtei Shemitah kos medaber. So he says there are two different aspects of Shemitah that the psukim, the verses are discussing, and we're putting them back to back. What are the two? Shmitat karka, of the land. Acha shmitat karka, acha shmitat kasafim. One of them is the Shemitah of the land, the other one is the Shemitah of the money. Bisman shetam meshamet karka, atam meshamet kasafim. When the Shemitah of karka is in effect, right? When we are doing the Shemitah of Ksafim, which is when most of Israel is settled in the land of Israel, then Atam Meshamek Ksafim. That's when, according to Torah law, the cutting off of loans is in effect. Bisman Shiatam Meshamek Karka, Iatam Meshamek Ksafim. But when there is no Shemitah of Karka, then Min HaTorah, there is no Shemitah there's no relinquishing of the money. And therefore, now we're going down on the page here, in the Hebrew here, and the English beneath the dark line, Abaye continues. V'takina Rabbanon, and it's the Rabbanon who established the Tishamet. So Min HaTorah, the loan is fully in force. The Rabbanon said, rabbinically, the Rabbanon came along and said, don't pay it back. Zeicher l'shevit, in order that we should not forget the laws, the structure of Shviyat. Rai Hillel, Hillel saw people were not lending to one another. Amad v'hitkin Pruzbul. So basically, his Pruzbul, according to this, is not going against the law of the Torah. The law of the Torah is loan is in force. Shemitah nowadays does not apply. The loan is in force. The Rabbanon came along and said, no, we're going to cancel the loan, so we shouldn't forget about Shemitah. Along comes Hillel and says, no. He's going against the Rabbanon, not going against the Torah. Going against the Rabbanon, who said, let's say that the loan is canceled, and he says, let's not say the loan is canceled. Let's go with the din, with the law of the Torah nowadays, that the loan is in force. So that is Abaye's approach. Just a couple more lines, because I might answer some of the questions that are out there, and then we'll take some questions. So according to the Gemara's first approach, the law of the Torah is Bisman Hazeh nowadays, the loan is in force. The Rabbanon came along and said the loan is canceled, and another one of the Rabbanon, Hillel, came along and said, let's not do that. And let's keep it at the law of the Torah, that nowadays the loan is in force. The Gemara says, one second. Can it be that you're telling me that Min HaTorah, according to the Torah, the loan is in force? Right? So the guy should pay back. And the Rabbanan say, no, Marty, no problem, don't pay it back. Right? The Torah says, pay. And the Rabbanan say, don't pay. Right? Are the Rabbanan going to go and make a takana against the Torah? Amar Abaye shev ve'al ta'asehu. Abaye says, yes. We find the Rabbanan will never make a takana to tell you to actively go against the Torah. There will never be a Rabbanan that says, go ahead and eat a pig bacon cheeseburger. Never. To tell you to get up and do something that's prohibited. But there are times that they'll tell you, even though according to the Torah, you're obligated, sit back and don't do it. For example, shofar blowing, Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos. According to the Torah, you're supposed to do it. The Rabbanan say, shave v'al ta'aseh. Don't do it. Out of concern that some Jew who's not learned somewhere might end up carrying a shofar and be mechalel Shabbos.
Well, the Torah says you can have more than one wife, and the rabbis say, no, you can't.
Okay. According to the Torah, you can have more than one wife. Right? The rabbi said, one's enough. Right? Or, lulav and etrog. Right? And there, when the only min haTorah shaking of the lulav and etrog is on the first day of Sukkot. After that, it's all rabbinic for the rest of Sukkot. The only Torah shaking of lulav and etrog is on the first day of Sukkot. But if that first day of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos, the Rabbanan say, shave, sit, al ta'aseh, don't do it. So yes, Abaye says, yes, we do find that the Torah, that the Rabbanan, in order to protect something, whether it's the sanctity of Shabbos, whether it's the sanctity of marriage, whether it's the sanctity of the knowledge of the laws of Shmitah, that min haTorah, according to the Torah, yes, you have to pay it back, and the Rabbanan say, shave v'al ta'aseh. Don't pay it back. Along came Hillel and said, we're losing more than we're gaining. Right? You do this so people will know the laws of Shmitah, they'll remember the laws of Shmitah. Yeah, they'll remember the laws of Shmitah and they're not going to keep it. Because no one's going to lend money. And we have people here who are in need. And therefore, it's more productive to bring back the law of the Torah, that Bisman Hazeh, the loan is in force, people will lend, people will collect, and the society, the economy will flow. Yes?
The Shmitah year applies to the land that replenishes food. It applies for money, which replenishes wealth. I was thinking, does it apply to anything else? Like loggers cut down trees. That means we don't work on forests? Is there anything else that you don't do because it just seems like it's money and it's land? Fishermen don't fish?
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's like replenishing.
Yeah.
It's a replenishing time.
Yeah. It applies to what it applies to.
So those two things.
Yeah.
But I just wonder why those two things. It seems there are other things in the world that Hashem supplies and replenishes.
Well, I mentioned before rabbis and the seventh year. I mentioned before that's a possibility.
Well, I've never gotten a sabbatical, and I would appreciate
Yes.
So, where does it say that the remission of the land or non-remission of the land is that's what the
linkage?
loan,
Where do we see the
yes.
linkage? So he darshaned it that the pasuk puts together Zedvar Shmitah Shemot. It mentions two Shmitas back to back. That's how he derived that. That it says Zedvar Shmitah Shemot is talking about the redundancy of those two words, come one following the other, is talking about two different types of Shmitah. And it's those two he's comparing.
They're saying they're linked?
Yes.
So as one goes, so goes the other?
Correct.
So does it go the other way? If you don't relinquish the monies, you can't,
no,
you don't relinquish the land?
No, it seems not.
So,
Okay.
so question
Yes.
for you. So we don't use Pruzbul anymore.
We do. We do. We'll come to that soon.
But if the Torah thing is
We'll come to that soon. Okay, let's go a little bit further. Okay, we're down the bottom over here. Rava has another answer to both of these questions. Meaning, if Shmitah nowadays is min haTorah, then how could Hillel the Rabbanan say, so min haTorah, the loan is canceled, how could he say, pay it back? And if Shmitah is midrabanan, but min haTorah, it's in force, then how could the Rabbanan have come along and said, no, it's canceled? And he says, Hefker Beit Din Haya Hefker. The Rabbanan have, the rabbis, the rabbinical court, has the ability, when it comes to monetary matters, to declare, as the title was, now you own it, now you don't. Now, fascinating. At our weddings, what is said at a wedding? You are sanctified to me with this ring. Kedas Moshe the Yisrael, according to the laws of Moshe and Israel, which means, if for some reason the Rabbanan see a need to cancel this marriage, it's not just canceling the marriage, they're going to uproot this marriage. The money that was given, the ring that was given, right? You thought it was yours, Mr. Groom, and the rabbi even asked you under the chuppah, is this yours? Did you buy it with your own money? Is it worth a pruta? Well, the Rabbanan say, you know what? Going back to that date, hefker, ownerless. It wasn't yours. When it comes to monetary matters, the Rabbanan have the ability to declare something hefker, which means when it comes to the money over here, it's hefker. It's hefker. It's ownerless. Right? It's not money that he owes you. Either the money that you lent him, you thought it was yours, it's not yours, we made it hefker, and now it's his. When it comes to monetary matters, the Rabbanan have the ability to declare something, I think it's eminent domain,
Yeah.
right?
Like property, yeah.
Right? Eminent domain, I think is the term. No? I'm wrong, Your Honor? Right? I think the state or the country or the king,
Right, the government.
the government, right, has the ability to, right, they want to build a highway, they want to do this, they want to do
It's
that.
not ownerless, they still have to pay the.
Okay.
There has to be just compensation.
Okay, okay. But we have this concept of an overruling of your personal ownership and rights over something for the good of the society, without going all the way to communism. Right? We're not nationalizing everything, but at times, right, there is this ability that the Beit Din. So Hillel, if we're saying that the Shmitah Bizman Hazeh is in force, then the Rabbanan saw the need for the flow of society to say, right, so even though min haTorah, right, I don't have to pay it back, they'll say, no, that money that I have, right, it belongs to him. Now, the Gemara also in Makos also goes through, let's say I lend you money on the condition that Shmitah won't cut it off. I can't do that. It's not for me to make a condition. The Torah says Shmitah cuts it off. I can't lend you money and make a condition that Shmitah won't cut it off. In such a case, the money is lent, but the condition is moot. However, I can lend you money al menat shelo tishmetuni bishvi'it. Not on the condition that Shvi'is won't cut it off. On the condition that you will not exercise your right of Shvi'is. You've got a right of Shvi'is to not pay it back. Now let's say someone lends me money and Shmitah has passed and I want to pay the person back. Am I allowed to pay the person back?
Yes.
I'm allowed to give him money. Right? It's not an obligation. The loan has been canceled, but you were kind enough to lend me the $1,000 when I was really in need of some help. Right? I have the money to pay back. I very much want to give you that money. I understand. Shemitah's canceled it. You can't take me to court. I'm not obligated. I'm not doing this out of obligation. Now, so the Gemara discusses, I can make a condition on the condition that you will not exercise your Shemitah right. I'm not messing with the Torah. The Torah gives you a Shemitah right. And I'm not saying you don't have that. You absolutely do have a Shemitah right. You have a choice. Will you exercise that right or not? And the condition is that you will not exercise that right. That's another interesting aspect that the Gemara brings up. So what do we have over here? What happens now, Bisman Hazeh? So now I'm pulling from the Or Sameach website. There's a halachic insights there, which is excellent stuff. Okay. What is the din of Shemitah for us now, 2014, 5775? He writes, the Ramban and Baal HaTur maintain that it's still a mitzvah min HaTorah. Min HaTorah, the loan is cancelled. The Rama, at the other extreme, cites several Rishonim who say that it's not applicable at all. Those are the two extremes. The vast majority of the poskim rule that nowadays it is a mitzvah de Rabbanan. Okay? The Yovel cycle we no longer have. The Yovel is, after 7 Shemitah cycles, the 50th year is another Shemitah year. We no longer have the Yovel cycles, and therefore the Shemitah Ksafim, the cancellation of loans, is also not in force on a Torah level. It is in force in our rabbinic level, and that is the halacha. The halacha is that Shemitah is in force in terms of the cancellation of loans, that is in force mi de Rabbanan. Right? The Tur, who's the author of what's called the Tur Shulchan Aruch, right? The Shulchan Aruch that we more commonly use was adapted from the Tur Shulchan Aruch by one of its main commentaries, the Beit Yosef, who's of Yosef Karo. His father, the father of the Tur, was Rabbeinu Asher, who's one of the Rishonim, one of the earlier commentaries found in the back of the Gemara, who extracts the halacha from the Gemara. He relates that his father, the Rosh, would scream at those who did business as usual without writing a Pruzbul. Actually, next time you're in Israel, walk into any bank, and you will see hung there in the bank is a Pruzbul, because banks are in the business of lending money, right? And the banks in Israel all have a Pruzbul. The Ben Ish Chai, interesting little anecdote, that at certain Talmid Chacham at the Pesach Seder, right? So during Korach, we fold over the bread, right? He told his son, don't only do Zecher LeMikdash Kehillel, right? At the Seder, what do? We fold it over to make a sandwich, because that's what Hillel would do. So to show respect to Hillel, to show deference to the opinion of Hillel, we fold over our matzah and our maror, and we eat it together. So don't only do that of Hillel, but also do this of Hillel. Hillel Hitkin Pruzbul. It was Hillel who established Pruzbul, so make sure that you also follow that aspect of Pruzbul. So the halacha is that we write a Pruzbul come the Shemitah year. So you might say, well, Rabbi, you are our rabbi, and we're in the Shemitah year. Why haven't you told us to write a Pruzbul? And the answer is back to the very first page that we began, actually the first word that we quoted. Miketz Sheva Shanim Taseh Shmita. At the end of 7 years, we proclaim Shmita. When is the loan canceled? When is the point of cancellation? Not this year Rosh Hashanah, but right before next year's Rosh Hashanah. Next year's Rosh Hashanah ushers in the 8th year. And therefore, right before the ushering in of the 8th year, at the end of the 7th year, that is when Shmitah goes into effect. And therefore, next year, right? Please remind me. Next year, it's my responsibility to let people know and to have available a Pruzbul that we will sign at the point, right? Sometime before Rosh Hashanah, we sign the Pruzbul, we hold on to it, and that way we simply, if we have loans that are out, that we can collect those loans, even though the kates, the end of the 7 years, have rolled around, and Shmitah has come around, and midrabanan, rabbinically, that cancels the loan. The Pruzbul allows us to collect it. Basil and Ian.
So the Pruzbul is an agreement between the two parties.
No. It's an agreement between myself and the Beit Din that I set.
So my question is long-term loans. You give somebody a mortgage for 15 years, they're paying you off. What do you do about a Pruzbul? When do you write? Because you're going to go over a Shmitah, you may go over 2 Shmitahs.
Yeah, before the end of each Shemitah year, you write it. Now, if it's to a non-Jewish bank, right? Or if I've lent to a non-Jew, right? The same way that ribit, there's a prohibition against collecting interest from a Jew. There's no prohibition collecting from a non-Jew, because you don't collect interest from your brother. You don't collect it from your sister. From others, that's a business. Okay? So too the Shmitah is amongst brothers and sisters. Right? But in the case of an extended loan, that's correct. A person might need to, every 7 years, which is what we do, every 7 years before the Shmitah rolls around, right? Or if there's something that specific I shouldn't tell about it, let me know.
In Israel, it's used commonly. It's used.
Oh yeah.
But here in this country, we follow the current law, and we don't use it.
Well, we should. We should. Right? When I first came on board, it was right before. It was Shmitah. It was the end. The start of my 7th year.
There's no mention of the borrower in the Pruzbul. We have to let the borrower know.
Well, if he comes to pay. Wait, no, one second. You can, once there's a Pruzbul, you can demand it.
Yeah.
Once there's a Pruzbul, then life goes on. Mm-hmm. Now, if he says to you, Ian, I know you're a Jewish God-fearing person, right? And I read that the Shmitah canceled the loans, right? Do I really need to still pay you? Right? And the answer is, if you have a Pruzbul, yes, he does. If you don't have a Pruzbul, then he really does not have to pay you. And you should not be demanding it. Okay? Therefore, we'll have a reminder of this as we get closer to the end of the year. Yes, Jan?
I'm totally confused. So when does the land have its Shmitah? When my fallow, was that starting just after this
entire
Rosh
year.
Hashanah?
The entire year, it lays fallow.
So starting...
But the Shmitah, the Ksafim is...
This last one, Tishrei?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But only...
Even actually starting beforehand, actually it started somewhat also.
But the Shmitah for the money...
Correct.
And then I'm totally confused because I thought we said that because if you don't relinquish the land, then the money's portion remains in force and it's collectible.
That was one opinion.
Torah.
That was one. So is Shmitah is the Shmitah of the land nowadays d'oraita or d'rabbanan? There's all questions. Right? The opinion that said
because we don't give
the
up
opinion
land.
we do
Right
give
now.
up land in Israel. We don't give up land. We don't act as an owner. Shmitah applies in Israel.
Oh.
Yeah, in
So
Israel.
for people,
in
for
Israel.
farmers in Israel,
For landowners in Israel.
but what about if you own your plot for your house? Do you give that up?
No.
So someone who was a householder and owned their plot and had an outstanding
It's an
loan.
agricultural law.
Okay, but those people who have an outstanding loan who are householders and own the land that the house is on, their loan
It's
does
an
not.
agricultural.
So
It's an agricultural.
I get it, but if someone had a loan outstanding to someone else,
So loan gets canceled at the end of the 7
even if they
years.
own their own house in the land,
What does owning a house have to do with the loan?
because they didn't relinquish the land of the house.
You're not supposed to relinquish the land. You don't relinquish any land.
But then what about that only the monies are only relinquished if you relinquish the land?
Thank you, Doug.
See, that's why I'm confused.
No, what the Gemara said was at the time.